afternoon, everybody. I'm here with David Steele, who is the founder of Western Wealth Capital. He is the founder of, what's the other company called?
Western Canadian Properties Group.
Also the founder of Western Canadian Properties Group. He is a multifamily apartment building owner in America, in the States, and also a apartment building developer here in British Columbia. Did I get it right?
Right on.
Okay. That was stressful. Thanks for being with me here. I appreciate you coming in. Now, we're going to talk about sales today. You are a master in this field as far as I'm concerned. I've seen you on stage before. I've had you come speak to my students. I get your company's emails all the time of all the amazing things that you're doing. So let's start off by just telling us, what do you guys own? Where do you guys buy? What kind of numbers can you throw out at us?
So I've been in the real estate business pretty much my whole career since I graduated from university. And in the last 6 years, so I've been throughout multifamily all across Canada and the U.S. And in the last 6 years, I partnered up with Janet LePage, a young 40-year-old whippersnapper gal, and we bought 15,000 apartment units down in the U.S.
Sorry?
15,000. So
in 6 years.
In 6 years.
15,000 units.
Units.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it's been an unbelievable ride, and what's been quite unique about it is that we've raised all the equity, which is about $700 million, from private individuals, family offices, and institutions. So, I guess if you really break it down, my main part of the job in the company is I raise the capital. I work with our team and we raise the capital. My partner, Janet, is incredibly analytical. She's a computer scientist and really goes and finds the deals. And then we go out and shake the trees and find the money. And we've raised about $700 million in the last 6 years.
What's the average investment?
It's as little as $25,000 US. But again, we keep the entry price fairly low to attract as many people as we can.
Right.
But we're really looking for accredited investors that are looking to find a place to put their money.
Right.
So no different than I'm going to invest in the stock market or I want to buy a piece of real estate. We just have made it very easy for people to participate owning real estate.
That's incredible. Those are some incredible numbers. And where's the focus of your buying been?
We're the second largest apartment owner in Phoenix. We have a huge portfolio in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Atlanta as well.
Wow.
So kind of the southwest of the U.S. and really driven by, where people are moving to, where jobs are being created. And that's generally very good for real estate. If the companies, the Amazons and the Intels and the Googles are leaving California and moving to places like that, that's where their staff then has to move. And that's really good for housing. So that's really all we target.
Wow. And from a development perspective, where are you guys working?
All across BC, we build brand new multifamily apartment buildings. Campbell River, Mission, Surrey, Fort St. John, Victoria. Again, the same concept. Look for where people are moving to. And then in BC, there's a market to build brand new accommodation.
And are you holding those, or are you selling and flipping, or selling them in the retail market?
Most of those we hold on to. So we again, attract
rental purpose build.
Rental purpose, attract a group of investors.
Yeah.
People come in and invest their money, and
wow.
It's kind of the formula.
Okay, so you said you spend a lot of time raising money. So just to clarify, that is effectively a sales role. You're selling the idea, or maybe I should ask you, what are you actually selling?
Yeah, so, it's a very good point because, probably the first lesson that you're going to ask me and I'm going to tell you is, what's the widget you're selling, right? People say, well, Dave, you're selling real estate. Well, no, real estate is the vehicle. What we're selling is, what would you like to do and get a rate of return on your money?
Right.
How can I get you 20 or 25% annual rate of return on your money? And if I can show you a formula for doing that, now I've got your attention.
Yeah.
Right? Now I've got your attention. Now I have to show you pragmatically how you can do that buying real estate and in what markets you can do that in.
So you're selling a return. Selling
a return. Selling a peace of mind, own something, have a team that looks after it, but ultimately, and really when you even go bigger picture, we're selling a retirement, because the challenge we're all facing is, how do I get enough money so that I'm not 70 years old and still going to work every day because I didn't save up enough money and didn't invest my money and get a good rate of return.
Yeah. Okay, that's fabulous. So when you're selling something, what kind of value are you adding to the life of your customer?
Again, what we're adding is everybody knows the stock market.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even matter, if I went to your class of even first year university students, many of them would have already bought a stock or bought a bond, would have called a broker, would have been sold a penny stock. So they all know the stock market, right? Now, the stock market is one place you can put your money. But it isn't the golden era anymore of the stock market. So it's now, as people mature and understand more, now it's a question of where else can I put my money?
Right.
And then they go, I'd like to own real estate. And now when you decide to own real estate, there's two ways you can do it. You can do it really hands-on, or you can do it really hands-off.
Yeah.
And so we offer an opportunity for people to get a really good return where they don't have to do all the work.
Right. So I just give you the money, you buy the real estate, I go to bed at night and don't have to worry about the clogged toilet.
Got it.
And
got it. Now, before you give me any money, you better know how I'm going to report to you,
right,
what I'm going to do to the property, how sure am I going to get you a rate of return, what kind of a track record I have. So again, those are all the details that really make up the program, but that's really the gist of it.
So what steps do you take when you're selling? So maybe a little bit about like the customer journey, like how do they get from you from never hearing about you guys to giving you $500,000?
Yeah, I mean, so a huge amount of our business is and always will be referral business, right? So the starting point is you got to decide what your program is, right? So again, when we started, we came at it with investors that we were going to go down to the States and buy a lot of buildings. I'm not sure when we started, we thought we'd buy 75 buildings in 6 years, but we never went to someone and said, we're going to buy a building. Would you like to invest?
Yeah.
We said, we're going to buy a bunch of buildings. Would you like to invest? And would you like to put a small amount of money into 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these properties?
Yeah.
And again, that's the difference between making a sale of a widget and the sale of a program.
Right.
Because if I sell you the widget and you make, oh, this sounds great, I'll buy your deal in Phoenix, then the next time I have another deal in Phoenix, I've got to go sell you that widget. So my sales job has to be that I sell you a program. How much money do you have? I'd like to invest $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000. Great. If you're going to invest $100,000, why don't you put $25,000 across the next 4 deals?
Wow.
So now I've got the concept in front of people that you're going to invest in the program. Now, that's not only critical for me building a long-term, funnel of business,
yeah,
but it's also critical for when you suddenly go tell your friend, hey, this is a really good program. Do you want to invest in it? I'm now talking to him about investing in our program. Again, not just putting into one deal.
Right. So the program is really important for you guys.
Very important.
So,
and again, very important when you said value add, very
right,
important in the value add, because the whole, whatever you're selling, don't sell a widget. There needs to be something bigger than the concept of a widget, because what most salespeople tend to do that are bad salespeople is they just bury people with all the data about the product. And when people leave, their head's spinning, and they don't really leave and go home and go, boy, if I do this, if I put my money in here, in 3 years from now, I'm going to have money that I can go take a big vacation, buy a new car. Yeah. Like there's something really good that's going to come out of it for them.
Am I correct in saying you're telling us don't sell the feature, but sell the benefit that feature gives you?
You got it.
Is that right?
100%.
Excellent.
Well said.
Oh, man. Did you always sell the program, or did you get there by bunks of failures or something?
Well, I have the benefit of I've been in the business world and the entrepreneurship world for 40 years. So probably when I started 40 years ago, I probably sold the widget.
Yeah.
And then over time, having done so many companies and so many different things, just very quickly realized day one, you better figure out what the program is that you're selling.
Yeah.
Better figure out what that looks like that I sign up long term.
Yeah.
Right? No different than if I go on Spotify, they don't sell me, hey, let's sign up for a month.
Yeah.
And at the end of the month, I'm going to call you back and see if you want to sign up for another month.
Of course.
They sign me up for a nice long-term deal. I sign it. Now they have me as a customer.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And this has obviously proven to be pretty successful for you by the stats that you throw around, 20% to 25%. Are those real returns that you're getting?
So we've sold about 30 of our deals that we've gone in, renovated, fixed up. We've held them for an average of 30 months that we've gone through our value add program on the buildings. And the investors on those 30 deals have had an average annual return of 30%.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, no, so it's, again, we've been very fortunate. The program really, really works. And so now the method is how do you get that out to everybody, right? Yeah. How do you get that out? Because the first thing you run into now with the results are this good is, oh my God, it's too good to be true.
Right.
So now now there's a bunch of validation that really has to back everything up.
Yeah. Because they say if it's too good to be true, it probably
is, right?
But not in this situation.
Right. And so again, the lesson in that from us, and it's a differentiator, I believe, between selling and getting clients, is we take the clients into the inner workings of all the things we do. We do tours. We fly the clients down to Phoenix and Dallas, and we tour them through a building we're about to buy, one we've just bought, one we've owned for 6 months, and one we've owned for a year. And they literally come out of the ones that we've completely transformed after owning for a year. And they go, you're telling me that building used to look like that?
Right.
I'm in.
Right.
Because then they can see, wow, if I was a resident living in this community, the building we're about to buy, when you walk into the leasing office, it stinks.
Yeah.
It's a 1980 building. Right. And they say, Dave, you shouldn't buy this building. I go, why not? They go, well, the leasing office stinks.
Right.
Who would ever rent here?
Yeah.
And I go, think about it. They're paying $900 a month in a leasing office that stinks. How hard do you think it's going to be to renovate the suite, fix up the leasing office, really complete the whole building, and get $100 or $200 rent increase?
Yeah.
It's not going to be that hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But once people see it, then they totally get it. Now,
right.
A lot of companies are like, well, that's my intellectual property. I don't want to share that. And our belief is, I think a little bit like Elon Musk, kind of open the code to the world. We have the same belief. Open what we do to the world, let people see it, be as transparent as we can, and then people can make a really good informed decision. And the great part is then they're coming back from one of these tours and they're telling their brothers and their friends, wow, you should see how these guys operate. Because ultimately that's the ticket is, you can sell something, but you've got to deliver on it. And if you can deliver on it and show the client how you're delivering, and they can have a good firsthand experience, that's when they really become advocates.
Well, Dave, over the years that I've seen you speak and been getting to know you, I think if there's one way to describe you, it's that you've been open-handed. I mean, I've seen you in stages a room full of real estate investors putting up your checklists and talking about the specific things you do and how many dollars of value increase a dog washing station brings or maybe electronic mailboxes for Amazon packages or whatever. All these things that I've picked up from you and I've always been amazed at that you're just like, yeah, this is exactly what, like you literally lay it down and be like, this is how we make all this money. Most of them are never going to do it themselves. They'd rather give you the money to do it instead.
Well, and I have no problem with the do-it-yourselfers and the people getting started, because truthfully, they're not my client today.
Right.
When they're 20 and 30 and 40, they're not my client. Yeah. But now all of a sudden they're 45 and they've made a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
They don't want to do the work anymore. Yeah. Now they're my client. Yeah. So at the end of the day, and I think there's a certain amount of give back that if you give back, it does go around in a full circle.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
We've always believed that.
That's great. So can you tell us about managing a sales team? What are some key functions that you might advise on and say, I got a team of salespeople that are working for me. Here are some things that I would do to work with them.
Well, it's alignment, it's accountability. The first one is they've got to be aligned, because everyone's got to be creating the same message, right? If you've got 50 clients and you like our product, I need to make sure that the messaging that you're giving those 50 clients is the same messaging that I've got.
Yeah.
So there's a real, and along the way, we work with a whole bunch of different groups that raise money for us. You need to make sure everyone's on the same page, or all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 different people all getting a completely different message out there.
Which creates dissatisfaction amongst those clients.
Totally. Yeah. So people, some people are just so hungry to get their clients to invest that they'll tell them just about anything. Well, that doesn't work. Right? Because now all of a sudden in 6 months or a year, you're sitting in a meeting and people are saying, well, that's not what I was told. So again, there's alignment. and that also drives the accountability. So anything to do with sales management is accountability. And we scorecard just about everything. So if we're going to raise money for a deal, we're working with someone, they'll say, I'm going to raise $2 million, right? So once we've got that accountability that we know for sure they'll raise $2 million, they get a $2 million allocation and they just go off to the races. But there's a process you have to get through where someone who's just getting started isn't going to raise $2 million. So you've got to find that balance of giving them enough to be able to do it. So it's coaching, it's accountability, it's alignment, it's really getting everybody on the same page around, are we the same kind of people, right? Are we, you've probably heard the saying, how did you know? Well, I knew because they were one of our tribe.
Right.
Like they connect because there's just that connection, and a lot of times you can't really explain it.
Yeah.
Again, companies call it culture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of culture just around the way that, you've got to connect with people, and it takes a lot of work because at the end of the day, almost every client that buys is buying because they trust you and they like you.
Yeah.
Right now. All of the people that are your salespeople, what you've really got to ask yourself, are they out there in the world creating people that trust and like them?
Right.
Because if you meet them and see them, even though they're top producers, if you don't like them and trust them and the clients don't, you're probably heading for a fall at some point, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's one of the challenges in the sales field why a lot of people don't like going into the sales field because they don't truly understand that the biggest part of it is how do you get people to trust you and like you, right?
So why should a person, a marketing student, enter into the field of sales?
Well, I'm biased, but I've been in sales for 40 years. I absolutely think it's the best field in the world, and here's why. I knew very quickly. Even though I've got a finance degree, I have a finance and a marketing degree, and I knew very quickly that I did not want the job of doing the finance and accounting.
Right.
I didn't want to be sitting there doing the spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It's not what floated my boat.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are a bunch of people that are taking marketing and sales courses, and at the end of the day, you can see them because if you put 30 people in the room, they're the person that would walk around and meet all 30 people in the room.
Right.
So if you're that person and you're not the person that wants to go sit at your spreadsheet and crank through the numbers for 2, 3, 4 hours a day, then you kind of need to raise your hand and go, that's probably the field I'm in. Now, a lot of people don't raise their hand because there's sort of this slant in a lot of the world that, well, I'm taking a downgrade, right? But there is no downgrade because if you're good at sales, there's no reason at sales you should not be making more than anybody else in any field.
Right.
It's just a question of whether you understand the discipline that it takes to do the sales and what it takes and whether you're prepared to put in that work and that discipline.
Wow.
Right?
That's great.
So
I guess there's kind of like the sky's the limit in the world of sales.
Totally. And again, sales and marketing they're the same as accounting. All the processes are pretty much the same. People just don't look at it and say, what is the process of how many emails I'm going to send out a week?
Right.
What's the process of how I'm going to get Jarrett to give me 5 good referrals? What's the process I'm going to do to what events am I going to go to meet 20 new clients? Each one of those things, there's a very systematic process.
Yeah.
Now, if you can create a formula for getting that systematic process, you're on a variable pay.
Right.
So you create the formula, you get paid an awful lot of money.
Right.
If you create that formula in an accounting department, you get your 10% or your 15% bonus at the end of the year, right? So it's not proportional.
Yeah.
But in most people's mind, they're not looking at sales as what is the process. They're looking at sales as saying, oh, they're going to give me a phone book and tell me to pick up the phone and start calling people, which is the old way of selling.
Yeah.
Or it's not even the old way. It's probably 30 years the old way. Right?
The old cold call.
Old cold call. Which again, if
That'll
you're
rip your soul out.
if you're going to go into sales, it's still a thing, but probably not as much as it used to be.
Yeah, I guess maybe a good learning experience, like selling vacuums door to door or something.
Totally.
You learn something about it. So what's one thing that you see in the world of real estate that you think is that it needs to change? It drives you crazy. It's old school, and there needs to be a shift in that area.
Probably the number one thing would be you go on any social media and people are posting their deal, right? So all of a sudden someone's got a deal, they want to raise money, they want to sell something, and they're just posting it out there like you and I are going to zip through the post and go, oh my God, this is so good, I better just go and buy it. Right? Like there's no relationship, there's no liking, there's no trust, there's no knowledge who it is, but people are just like, I've got this widget and I'm going to go and sell the widget. You've got to go figure out the way where, you said, well, Dave, I've seen you speak 5 times. I probably speak, 70 times a year around where I go and I talk about it, and most of it there's very little return on it in terms of a business return. I need to find another reason why I'm doing it, and a lot of it I do because I enjoy sort of the give back of doing it.
Right.
But a lot of the real estate groups I go and I speak to, and then at the end of the meetings, people come up to me, we get a relationship, we start talking, and often it isn't even that person that I talk to who's going to become the investor, but they're going to go, wow, I really like your formula.
Yeah.
And then they go, hey, funny thing, I was having Thanksgiving dinner and my dad's got 50 grand he wants to invest.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him call you. Wow, that'd be great. Why? Because along the way, we dated a few times before we ended up getting married.
Yeah. That's a way to have a successful long-term relationship. All right, David, I appreciate your time with us today. I think this has been super insightful, super helpful. I think that, I've learned a lot, and I'm going to change a lot of what I'm doing just because of all these awesome things you told me today. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.